Okay, so law of sines. Law of sines is what you're going to use whenever you are trying to solve triangles that are called oblique or obtuse. And all that is, okay, all an oblique or obtuse triangle is a triangle that does not contain a right angle. Okay, so it's not a 90-degree triangle. And so if you have a triangle that's oblique or obtuse, you can't use SOHCAHTOA, okay, or the regular like sine, cosine, tangent, okay, where you did opposite over hypotenuse, tangent, adjacent, and all that good stuff. You also cannot use Pythagorean theorem, okay? So no more can you use that if you have an oblique or obtuse triangle that doesn't have a right angle. So the law of sines is what we're going to use instead. And so angles are labeled with capital letters, and the sides are labeled with lowercase letters, and you'll be given pairs sometimes, okay? So for example, if you've got this is angle A, then this across from it, the opposite leg, is going to be side A, okay? If this is angle C, then the opposite leg is going to be side C. Okay, angle B, opposite, yes, C? All right. So one relationship, there are two relationships that exist among the sides and the angles in an obtuse triangle. First is law of sines, and that is this, okay? So here is your law of sines. And it should be already on your notes. Now, one of the ways, because they're not going to tell you on your test whether you have to solve a triangle using the law of sines or the law of cosines. So one of the ways that you're going to know that you need to use the law of sines is that you'll be given at least one of the ratios, one of the full ratios, which basically just means a pair. And I call pairs an angle and a leg that go together. Okay, so if you're given a pair, you can use the law of sines. Okay, and the law of sines is easier. We're going to hope it's the law of sines. Okay. Now, you could also see the law of sines written like this. Sine A over A equals sine B over B equals sine C over C. So some people write it like this. I think your formula sheet gives it to you like this, but it really doesn't matter, okay? As long as you put your sines all in the same place, top or bottom, and your sides, top or bottom, as long as you keep that consistent, then it really doesn't matter, okay? It's going to work out the same way, okay? Make sense? Okay. So now there are two types of triangles that you can use law of sines on. And this really doesn't matter, okay? You'll know when to use the law of sines because you'll have a pair, but the two types of triangles that you can use the law of sines on are side angle angle or angle side angle, okay? Does that make sense? You remember those from geometry? Good. All right. Questions so far? Okay. So when I ask you to determine which type of triangle is given and then solve the triangle, I really don't care if you determine the type of triangle because I've never seen them ask that. So we're just going to solve this triangle. What kind would this be though? Would this be angle side angle or side angle angle? Side angle angle, okay? Because we've got a side and then two angles. All right. So we're going to solve this triangle. What would be the easiest thing for us to find first? We've got to find all the angles and all the sides. The other angle would be easiest. Why is the other angle easiest to find first? Because we can just take 180 and subtract 63 and subtract 46. That's the way I do it anyways, okay? So I'm just going to subtract those angles out, and it's going to give me that missing angle B. So let's do that. So 180 minus 63 and 46. All right, so 71. Is everybody good with that? Yes? All right, so the next thing that I'm going to find is, or I'm going to look at and see which pair they give me. So which angle and side do they give me? C. Good. So that tells me that I'm going to use this part of the law of sines. C over sine C. So I'm going to write that down, C over sine C. And it really doesn't matter which leg you go find first, okay? You can find either one first. I usually just find things in alphabetical order because I like to do it that way, but it really doesn't matter. So I'm going to go find A, okay, side A first. And so then that tells me that I need to use this other part of the law of sines, okay? So you're only going to ever be using 2 parts at a time when you solve. And now I'm just going to plug in everything I know. So what goes in for side C? 56. Angle C is 63, so I'm going to take the sine of 63 degrees. Set that equal to, I'm looking for what A is, so I'm going to leave that. What goes in for sine A? Sine 46, good. All right. Do what? In degrees, yes. So good so far, how we plug that in? All right, now how do you think I'm going to solve this? Cross multiply, plug it in your calculator. If these angles are degrees, then what should your calculator be in? Degree mode. So go check your mode first. Make sure your calculator's in degree mode. And so then when I solve this, this is going to give me 56 times the sine of 46 equals A times the sine of 63. So then tell me what I'm going to have to do to solve for A. Divide by sine 63. So A is just going to be 56 sine 46. I like to write it all out. Divided by the sine of 63. Okay, when I divide that. So let's plug that in. 56 sine 46. So I'm going to get that first. And then divide that by sine 63. And that's just going to give me 45, right? And I want you to round all of these on your homework, okay? All the time, they pretty much want you to round to the nearest tenth. So I'm just going to round this to 45.2. And if they give you units, you need to make sure that you leave your answers in units. So this is going to be 45.2 what? Inches, good. All right, yes? Do what? Yes. All right, does that make sense so far? Now, I'm going to go find side B. A lot of people, whenever they do this, will make the mistake of trying to use Pythagorean theorem. Can you use Pythagorean theorem? No. So I'm going to use this law of sines again. And so whenever you find your other side, what I always want you to do is use the pair that they gave you. I'm not going to use this pair, 46 and 45.2, because what did I do to this number? I rounded it. Okay, so if I use this number, it's not going to be as accurate as if I use the pair that they gave me. So I'm going to set this up again. 56 over sine 63 is going to equal, this time I'm going to find side B. So B over sine 71. And just cross multiply, solve it the exact same way. So 56 times the sine of 71 equals B times the sine of 63. And then I'm just going to divide by that sine of 63 to solve for B. So really the only thing that I changed is the 71 degrees. So 56 sine 71 divided by sine 63. So I'm just going to round that to, did everybody get 59.4? Good. 59.4 inches. Yes? And so we have solved. Yes? Yay. All right, I'm going to pause this. Record. Okay, so tell me what we had to do first. We can't just start out because we don't have a pair. What do? Subtract the other angles from 180. So I'm going to subtract 33.5 and 50 from 180. Tell me what that gives me for the other angle. 96.5. Yes, Sam? The formula will be given to you. Yes. All right. So since I found 96.5, that gives me this pair right here, pair B. So I'm going to set this up 76 over the sine of 96.5. And guys, a lot of people will get these mixed up, these numbers, but think about it. You can't plug in a number that's not an angle to sine. Sine has to go with an angle measure. Okay, so whatever number you plug in here, it has to be an angle. It can't be 76. So that's one way that you can keep them separate. Now, which one do you want to find first, A or C? A, thank you. All right, so let's find A over, A goes with 50, so I'm going to stick A over sine 50. How do I solve this? Cross multiply, so that's 76 sine 50 equals A times the sine of 96.5. So tell me what I need to do to solve for A. Plug this side into the calculator, and then divide by sine 96.5. So tell me what you get whenever you do that. A equals what? 58.6, and that's in what? Centimeters. So 58.6. One of your sides is a centimeter, so the other one has to be centimeters. Okay? Alright, so let's go ahead and find the other side. I'm going to use the same pair, so 76 over the sine of 96.5. This time, the only thing that changes is I'm saying C over the sine of 33.5. And so I'm going to solve it the exact same way. Hopefully, once you solve enough of these, you should see a nice little pattern going on here. Okay, you solve in the same way every time, and only one number changes. So 76 times the sine of 33.5 is going to equal C times the sine of 96.5. And so what do I need to do? Plug this side in and then do what with this? Divide. So what does C equal when we plug that in the calculator? 42.2 centimeters. Good. Alright, questions on that? What? Okay, well we all probably do because that's different. Alright, look at number 3. Okay, so look at number 3. This one we're going to do a little bit different, okay? So, what's different about this one than the other two that we've had? Right. And I've only given 1 degree. I'm giving 2 sides though. So what I have to do on this one, I'm still giving a pair, okay? And so that lets me know I'm going to use the law of sines, okay, if this is on my test. And so I'm going to set up 13 over the sine of 64 first. Now, what's the only other piece of information I know? Side B. Okay, I know side B. So I'm going to put 8 over the sine. I don't know what angle B is. Okay? So whenever I solve this one, I'm going to solve it the exact same way that I did before by cross multiplying. So this is going to be 13 times the sine of B equals 8 times the sine of 64. It's just going to change how I solve it a little bit right here. Okay? Now, I can't get rid of this sign by just dividing. What can I get rid of first, though? 13. So in my calculator, I'm going to go ahead and divide this 13 over. So I'm going to take 8 sine 64 and divide it by 13. So 8 sine 64 divided by 13. All right, so it gives me this real small number, okay? So 0.55 blah, blah, blah. So I get sine B equals that 0.5 mess that this is right here, okay? Now, how did we get rid of sine before? I can't just divide by sine. What do I have to do to get rid of this? That's what's lost. I have to do the inverse, exactly. So I've got to take the inverse of this right here, okay? So I'm going to hit sine inverse, and then I'm just going to hit second answer so I don't lose all those decimals. So sine inverse of that gives me 33 point, I'm going to round it to 6. So angle B, big B, is 33.6. Okay? Does that make sense? So you just do the inverse. Yes. Now, what can I find since I have 2 angles now? I can find angle C. I'm just going to take 180 minus 64 minus 33.6. So what does that give me for the angle C? 82.4. Okay, so I just subtracted those from 180. And then what's the last thing that I need to find? C's length. Good. So I'm going to set up 13 over sine 64 equals side C over sine 82.4. And so then this is just exactly like the first 2 problems that we solved. I don't have to do inverse. Okay, I just cross multiply and solve because I'm just finding a side length. So I've got 13 times the sine of 82.4 equals C times the sine of 64. And so I'm just going to plug this into the calculator and divide by sine 64. Tell me what you get when you do that for side C. 14.3, good. And that's centimeters. 14.3 centimeters. Yes? Is this hard? No, good. All right.